welcome to the first meeting of the series of network conversation about what will Gropius do a century later. My name is Begoña López Averasturi. I am from Conexiones Improbables, the organization that has promoted and organized this initiative. Today we will be talking about bioeconomy, food and health, and the meeting will last about 2 hours. On this occasion, it will not be the Conexiones Improbables team who will be moderating the group, but Emanuel Boselli and Eduardo Longo from the Free University of Bolzano will be here. Emanuel Boselli is an associate professor in food science and technology enology in the Faculty of Science and Technology at the Free University of Bolzano in Italy, and he will be leading this conversation. So welcome, Emanuel, and thank you very much for being here, being with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Begoña, and thank you to all the participants of this parallel dialogue. But I would firstly like to introduce the organizers and the drivers of this parallel dialogue. Improbable connections in English. I would like to give the word to Roberto for a general introduction of his concept, which is the background of this meeting of today.
Thanks, Emmanuel. Good morning, everyone. I would like to greet you on behalf of Conexiones Improbables, Improbable Connections, hybridizing to innovate, a partner of the New European Bauhaus and promoter of this cycle of conversations with the title, What Would Gropius Do a Century Later? Gropius, as you know, was the founder of the Bauhaus in 1919, was an architect and thought about architecture as the ultimate creative expression. But if he were alive today, what would Gropius be? A scientist, a maker, a community activist, or what? Today we start seven interesting meetings with which we want to contribute to enrich the discourse on the European Bauhaus and how, from different disciplines and perspectives, an inclusive, sustainable and beautiful Europe can be built. I would like to thank all participants for their content, and today especially Emmanuel and Eduardo and their team from the Free University of Bolzano for leading and organizing this meeting of bioeconomy, food and health, and of course to all the invited participants and to all those who follow us by streaming. We are looking forward to hearing from you. Is your space, Emmanuel. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberto. I would also like to introduce Boris, who was the Italian promoter and put me in touch with Roberto. And you are the facilitator for the multidisciplinarity, the technical facilitator for the multidisciplinarity of the dialogue of today, I think. So the dialogue of today will be divided into 2 rounds, in which we will introduce ourselves to all of us, and then each of us will propose his or her ideas on the contribution of food, bioeconomy, and health on the new European Bauhaus project in 5 minutes. So it should be a very short presentation, and then we will start a discussion. And then we will finish with a summary of what we proposed. Practically, the goal of our conversation is to discuss exactly the role of bioeconomy, food and health to the building of a beautiful, sustainable and inclusive Europe. So these are the 3 key points. Gropius, as Roberto said, is a very revolutionary architect. In fact, he had to escape to the US to start to work. He made a concept for the first time of the shape and function of the objects. So the perfect shape of an object can be reached by studying its precise functions. And he put together artisanal work with industrial technical precision. Okay, and in addition, so some parallelism with our work is that he said that the architect should also have a cultural engagement, okay, a social engagement. So we Europeans are the architects of the new Europe, and so we should find probably a parallelism with what he was proposing at his time regarding shape and function of the food products, probably, or of the working places in which we live every day. On this aspect, on this regard, digitalization plays a crucial role, and also the ensuring the safe and affordable food will be the keyword of today. I discovered a few days ago that today is the World Food Safety Day. World Food Safety Day is 7 June, celebrated by the United Nations. And so this is practically very in accordance with the conversation of today. So also the United Nations today would like to draw the attention and inspire action to help prevent, detect, and manage foodborne risks, contribute to food security, contribute to food safety, to human health in a frame of economic prosperity, agriculture, market access, but also tourism and sustainable development. So I have tried today to gather 11 different experts from academia, from research institutes, and from private companies, or also freelance professionals. As you could see from the list of participants, they are experts in affordable food production and biotechnology, in gastronomy, in sociocultural dynamics, in digitalization of the agri-food sector, in sustainable and circular food production, health insurance and social security, and personal development through art and culture. So this would be a very multidisciplinary group. And I would like to start immediately with the introduction of each of us. As you know, me and Eduardo, we are food technologists and food chemists. So, and we practically study the composition of food products and to put them in relationship with the processing technology, okay? And how the processing technology can be enhanced to also to increase the nutritive, sensory, and compositional quality of the foods. I would like then to give the word to Mieczysław Obieziński for a short introduction of him. If you can say 2 words, Mike.
I am a professor emeritus, but still dealing with food technology. And I used to work in different parts of the world, dealing with food technology, and also dealing with research on food contaminants and food safety, simply speaking. And also I experienced, let's say, lecturing abroad in different countries, including MIT, in US, working for FAO 3 years as a meat training officer of dealing with African countries, English-speaking African countries, setting up a training there. And additionally, also I spent a couple of years working in Warsaw, what's it called, University of Life Science, SGGW. And I am still vivid and still interested in a food safety, and generally speaking in food safety system. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mike. We are looking forward to your presentation. I would like now to give the word to Dan Cristian Vodnar from Romania.
Hello, everyone.
Hello,
thank you so much,
Dan.
Emanuele, for introduction and for putting us together here today. So I'm Dan. I'm from Romania, from the University of Agricultural Sciences and Veterinary Medicine of Cluj-Napoca. I'm a vice rector for research, but I'm actually a professor of food biotechnology and molecular gastronomy. I'm teaching for bachelor, master students, but also I coordinate the PhD. Our work is dealing also with the microencapsulation of probiotics, and right now we are developing actually different food supplements and also psychobiotics. And the last, let's say, direction is related to the antimicrobial effects of plant extracts. So briefly, I'm done.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, thank you. Now I would like to give the word to my colleague, Federica Viganò, a completely different way of approaching to this dialogue and to this subject. And for this reason, I was very happy that she could accept this invitation.
Hello, everybody. I'm Federica Viganò. I just present briefly myself. I'm a researcher in economic sociology, which is a quite different and outside kind of discipline regarding all of you. And let's say that my main interest focuses on social economy and social sustainability. That's to say that I'm tackling all the social aspect of what you are currently doing. I have a specific interest in corporate social responsibility. That's to say how enterprises can contribute to, let's say, the sustainability paradigm and sustainable economy. But I have a special interest in rural development and specifically the eco-social transformation of for instance, agri-food systems. I'm currently also developing some project, for instance, on social agriculture, which is a very interesting version of agriculture. It's connected, really connected to the social issues. This is just one example. And then contributing to this specific dialogue, I think it is worth it to undermine the project that I have done on cultural and creative industries, because it brings a lot about integrating methodology. Thank you so much. Then I will speak later on that.
Okay, thank you, Federica. And then from Switzerland, which is a neighbor country inside Europe, and they also feel very European. Beatrice, you should unmute your microphone.
Good morning, everybody from Switzerland. Thank you very much, Emma, for inviting me. Probably a short introduction from my side. My name is Beatrice Burgi. I studied microbiology a couple of almost years ago in Bern, continued with a PhD in pharmacology. and entered pharma industry. And more than 11 years, I moved into brokerage field, which is a completely different field compared to biology. But at least I kept my key customers, and they were always health insurance, health professionals. I'm mainly interested in raising awareness about food, about sustainability in general. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bea. Thank you so much. Great. Now we need some digitalization, I think. And for this reason, I invited Raffaele. Raffaele is chief scientist at Fondazione Bruno Kessler, which is a research body not far from Bolzano. Thank you, Raffaele, for accepting this invitation.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Hi, everybody. So yes, I actually work for Fondazione Bruno Kessler, which is a research center in, let's say, the ICT and digital domain, but my interest is also as an entrepreneur in the digitalization of the primary food production. So I also am a co-founder of a startup that is Tessa Agritech, which is a spin-off of our research center, and we work in with giving farmers the possibility of monitoring in a very distributed manner the way their crops evolve during the year. So this is my basic focus, and as a background, I bring also some interest in the aspects that are related to economics and the incentivization of the sustainable behaviors. So we are in a situation where the farmers are to invest in innovation, and this is where we bring our technology support to provide some further incentives on their plate so that they can do this in a sustainable way, economically sustainable way.
Very important side. Then I would like now to invite Daniel Martin Vertedor. He is also a food technologist, but his background is more on biology, from Spain. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Emanuele, for inviting me to this presentation. Well, I am a researcher in an agriculture laboratory of the Scientist Center and Technological Research of Extremadura in Spain. It's called CICITET. I am principal investigator in table olive. I am member of virgin olive oil testing panel. I am the head of the table olive panel. Well, I am out and reviews of large number of scientist articles, and I have wrote several books. I have coordinated numerous national and international conferences, and I am a member of the scientist committee of international events. Well, now I am a researcher in this center, and also I am a member of the Spanish Society of Horticultural Science. And that's all.
Thank you, Daniel. And now the creative side, I would say, of our group with Marianke Grotjans. Sorry for the pronunciation. Okay.
So, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for being here, for having the possibility to be part of this conversation. I am Marianke Grotjans. I'm a musician, a music therapist, and specialized in working with sound, with energy and meditation. The last 10 years, I worked in a psychiatric hospital of Graz in Austria, where I was responsible for the emergency room for men and women, and for therapy for children and adolescents. I'm co-founder of the Languages of Energy, which is a social innovation organization from the Basque Country in Spain. We created the Languages of Energy with a vision of working for the progress of social transformation and personal development through art, sound, food and healing, to generate a truly significant change that enhances the increased health and well-being of people. transform and transcend by putting the human at the center of priorities and creating social innovation programs through creativity, research, gastronomy, and emerging arts. Our mission is to promote new forms of experience, building spaces for encounter and experimentation that enable personal experiences through community actions, art, science, and healing for conscious social transformation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Marianke. And I can also say that the last but not least person who was invited to this speech also is a creative person and something between creative aspects and technical aspects. And it is Maria Mora, also from San Sebastian.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. It's a pleasure to me to be here to share with you this moment with this amazing panel of experts. So, my name is Maria Mora. I am researcher in sensory analysis at BCC Innovation, the technological center in gastronomy of Basque Culinary Center in Basque Country, where I usually work together with chefs and other scientific experts assessing consumer expectations, needs for product development. My background is food technology, as some of you, and my specialization area is the study of the emotional response elicited by different food products, real context study, and sensometrics, which is the use of statistics for sensory data analysis. So that's all.
Thank you very much, Maria. Do you have any comments for now? Okay, so maybe we can start with round two. We are perfectly in time. Maybe we can, so the answering the 5 questions that Conexiones Improbables has pointed out for us. So what do you understand by your theme? How can the new European Bauhaus have an impact on your field? What role do you understand cross-fertilization strategies play in your field? What specific role do you give to the creative aspects in your field and in the new European Bauhaus project? And an example of maximum 3 experiences, ideas, or actions from our field that can contribute to a sustainable, inclusive, and beautiful Europe. Okay, sorry for reading. So maybe we could keep the same order, provided that everybody has no other engagement, or he would like to start before. I don't know, because I know that some of you have some engagements, but we are fully in time. Okay, so I think that Mike, I could not, but Mike should start. Mieczysław. Mike is the nickname of Mieczysław, as because you are, let's say, a very international view coming from several years of experience working in different continents. And I think you could start with your presentation, with your ideas.
So first of all, what I would like to say is that, as you can see, the food safety, food fraud, and food defense could be started with statement: safe food is a primary determinant of human health. It's a basic human right to have access to safe and healthy food. And please, next slide. And I was trying to underline why it's also important for a new European Bauhaus. It's an important thing that the food safety is shared responsibility among multiple stakeholders. Countries must show leadership in adopting and implementing food safety policies which ensure that each stakeholder knows and correctly plays their part. Therefore, we have to try to reorganize or improve food safety system. And if we could go to the next slide, here is, if you could press it, it will show out step by step, showing you all the details regarding different kind of food hazards and different kind of food safety problems, in which respect it's a way to improve the system, as we can see what happened during the problems with COVID-19. And next slide, please. It's some adoption of, I like this idea of interconnection, and this is what is called holistic approach to the food safety system. And there, on this slide, on this drawing, is presented different parts of the surrounding and also environment of an interconnection in respect of the some interface with animal environment and human environment. Therefore, I have to underline, we need some holistic approach with many different institutions and different people, and adjusted system to the not only to the European Union policies, but also to adjust to the level regional or semi-regional levels. The next slide, please. And also, generally speaking, the system is supposed to be based on real risk management, risk analysis, risk assessment, especially with the problems which are, we have to have a look on the future problems, which could emerging problems which could will be arising in probably in near future. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, it's a mistake here on this slide. Anyway, please, next slide. And finally, I just would like to share with you some examples of strategy in my country in respect of the sustainable rural development. Next slide, please. And generally speaking, in the face of the real new approach to the food safety system, we have to bear in mind that in Green Deal is emphasizing in Europe, is emphasizing to improvement and sustainable development of agriculture. That means that food chain are shorter, and they, in this respect, it's a more difficult to control the food safety, and also how is implemented this in real life, this basic approaches to provide food safety, as well as another aspect, what also occurred very clearly during epidemic time, the proper control in respect to have an influence on it, and knowledge in respect of the e-commerce, e-food market. I mean, internet market, and proper delivery of the food goods. And I think that I provided also a manual with my comment in this respect in written form. So I would like to. I think that you could a manual send or share with listeners.
Okay, maybe during the discussion we can share your comments later. I would give the word then to Dan, if possible, because I know that he has also another commitment later. Dan Christian.
So I will briefly introduce answers to your questions. What do you understand by your theme? To the
and we cannot hear you very well.
Sustainable way, yeah. No. I don't know, what should I do?
And maybe switch off the video. Probably could be a certain
okay.
option.
Yes, indeed. Just a second, just to. Now you can see the slides. You can hear better.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So
yes.
I said that we can understand the biological resources and a sustainable way, a resources efficient way. I mean, to use it in an efficient way, taking into account limits of water and soil use and minimize negative environmental effects. All these elements play an indispensable role for health and quality of life in combining hunger and feeding our planet, being the main social global challenges of today. Now then, I cannot move the slides. So everything is blocked here. I will share, okay, just a second. Oh gosh. I don't know. Now then. Better?
Yes.
Yes. So how can the new European Bauhaus have an impact on your field? Well, I consider that the Bauhaus European can have an impact by developing a new sustainable culinary product, by combining actually the molecular gastronomy with the science of cooking, or by applying the science in the molecular cuisine. This is our first and very important, let's say, area of research also for us. And the second one is to develop a new sustainable food products. Here are some examples of our already developed products, as this beverage, where the beverage was done by using actually different waste from vegetables and from fruits. I mean the peels of the vegetables and fruits, and on the cap of the bottle, we microencapsulate probiotics, especially for people which suffers for irritable bowel syndrome. So the product was more or less designed for the people with this disease. Another product released from molecular gastronomy, it's an edible lipstick. You can see here a sweet burger. You can see here a salad caprese, a very Italian one. But we actually changed the two-dimensional form in three-dimensional form. Here you can see some ravioli, edible ravioli.
We lost you. The last second.
With pills.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So here is another product. It's a sticker for which can be. Can you? Is it fine now? Can you hear me?
Yes. It's
yes,
an apple,
sure.
right?
Yes, it's an apple with a bioactive sticker. So the sticker is made from biopolymers, which sequestrate inside the bioactive compounds. I mean the polyphenols and the other molecules from nature. And when you tap the water on the apple, actually the water is going to relax actually the biopolymer and to release the bioactive compounds from inside to outside, and in this way wash the fruit. What role do you understand cross-fertilization strategy plays in your
again, Dan, can you repeat?
Yes, molecular gastronomy, what role do you understand cross-fertilization strategy? For us, it's molecular gastronomy because molecular gastronomy combines the knowledge of chemistry, physics, and culinary arts in changing the structure and making more bioavailable many compounds from inside of a dish, for example, or to people. And the role is the understanding and translating the culinary phenomena, which we consider that for us, for our society, especially in Romania, probably in 2030, the people are not going to produce a lot of food in houses, so they will need actually to go, or they will buy it from different suppliers. And in this way, I think that the gastronomy is a main topic for us, for Romanians. What specific role do you give to the creativity aspects in the field? We start in a science communication project called Science with Salt and Pepper, and where we actually try to educate people in the understanding the phenomena, why, for example, which is the temperature for a very good boiled egg, and which are the phenomena, the chemical ones and the physical one behind this process. And 3 experience ideas are actually our main research focus or direction. One is fermentative bioconversion, obtaining added value compounds from industrial bio.
We lost you again.
And many others. You lost me again. Oh,
yes, 10 seconds.
I'm not very happy. Yes, okay. Probably you understand that our main research directions are fermentative bioconversion, and the work is dealing with the using of different industrial and non-industrial waste, and we convert them into valuable organic chemicals as biovanillins, succinic acid, lactic acid, and many other polyols, and optimization of fermentation processes for the cultivation of probiotic bacteria. Our interest since 2010 was to develop a technology or microencapsulation technology in our university, and we did it actually, and we have, let's say, a very small factory inside the university. I mean the technological flow for obtaining probiotics, and moreover now we are dealing in many projects together with people which works from the medical university in developing psychobiotics, but this is another approach. We can definitely discuss about it. And the last and very important also for us topic is the antimicrobial and activity of plant extracts, where we can actually see which are the main compounds from a natural extract and which is the antimicrobial property, which are the is the antimicrobial property of the extracts. So these are in 5 minutes.
Thank you, Dan. Very interesting new approaches, novel approaches. And so then now I think we can go back to the social aspects of the new European Bauhaus, just to change the point of view. And with Federica, I would like to invite her to give her presentation and the answers to the questions.
Can you see my desktop?
Yes, yes.
Okay, just a minute, and I will be.
By the way, if there are any questions, please write them in the chat, all the participants.
Okay, I go directly to the question, and I have taken some aspect just to give my personal view on the theme. The theme, I was reflecting on also the 3 main points of the new European Bauhaus program, which are beautiful, sustainable, and inclusive. For the first point, I just want to underline the importance of aesthetic in many different ways. Aesthetic matters for individuals, for their personal development and for society. Just think about how would it be to live in a place without culture and art compared to another place where there is culture and art. This is one of my interests because I study rural and urban differences for what concern, for instance, the well-being condition. And I have to say that culture and art are one of the main determinants of well-being, just to give you one point. For what concerns sustainable, of course, here we are really in the paradigm of sustainability. And what I would like to undermine is the very original definition of sustainability connected to also inclusiveness and to the document, which was if you want, the first one considering the perspective of sustainability. You probably remember the Brundtland report from 1987, whose subtitle was Our Common Future. That's to say how important, how relevant is to consider a common perspective where we take care of the resources, not just the natural resources, but bearing in mind that we don't have to overuse resources. And this is important if we want to consider the intergenerational and intra-generational perspective, which was one of the main points of sustainability, to use resources with respect for the others, for the future generation to come, for instance. In general, I would like to underline the importance to tackle, to embrace the social issue, given that in the sustainability discourse, environment was coming first, always. It was also at the origin of the whole story, if you want. It was about natural resources. But today is more and more important to include the social aspect, which are strictly combined also with, of course, economic aspect. Second point or second question, impact of the new European Bauhaus. Again, I have to come back to my main interest and undermine how relevant are social and environmental sustainability and inclusiveness when we think about the growth theory, which is one of the main, how can I say, perspective in which our economy is currently going. And to grow means not just growing without an interest for social and environmental aspect, of course. And again, now we are running late to tackle exactly the question of sustainability. Think about climate change. Just to give one example, we are really running late. We have to do something, not to overuse, not to exploit resources, and to consider that exploitation or overuse of resources is one of the main causes of social inequalities and economic disparities. Again, one of my, let's say, core topic is the central places versus rural or marginalized places. And this will be another perspective in which inequalities will be caused if we don't think about an equal access and an equal development. The issue of cross-fertilization here, just give you an example coming from some of the studies that I have done in the last years. Cross-fertilization and cross-innovation are quite familiar to me because I have worked a lot in the field of cultural and creative industries and sectors, which are a specific sector of enterprises where, of course, there is this specific mix between creatives and production, also industrial production. I just want to underline one of the main learning, which I think is quite not universal, but very relevant for many different areas. The new model of the economic system, let's say, for instance, the type of enterprises where they are localized or how they are organized, lie not so much in the mono-chain specialization, which is typical of the industrial organization, but more in the creative integration of many different supply chains. And here, culture is an element which is very relevant. It does not produce values in terms of profit, or not directly, but I think that culture can also produce profit, actually. But it's very relevant because it's becoming a new production model based on interaction and knowledge exchange between different disciplines or different people, let's say. Creative thinking. Here again, I'm really one person who strongly believe in interdisciplinarity and mixing ideas and approaches, because it helps to look at a problem from different angles. I could make many examples, but let's think about also the other colleague that were presenting some of their topics. I asked them, this could be also in the next round, are you thinking about the social aspect when, let's say, when developing your line of production, for instance, or in general, whatever is the field, if the production is also taken from a social perspective? Just one point, the condition of workers, just one example. Another couple of points which are also relevant to me, and I think relevant also for the future, the relevance of measuring the impact of research. The impact is one of the main mantra now also of the European project, but it's worthy to consider the question of measuring the impact in terms of what we are producing, which kind of effects are producing, for instance, at societal level. And last, my 3 points or ideas, which can also be very transversal, I think. I mentioned just the alternative food networks, which are a movement, which is not a new thing. It was born in 1990s, and it was a reaction against the the standardization and globalization or the unethical nature of the industrial food system. And it is still very relevant. And there is a new, let's say, flourishing wave of studies on that. And specifically, again, focused on the urban-rural context. This is my first point. The second is it's not a suggestion, it's a topic that we can really investigate. Short and sustainable supply chain. How supply chain could or should be in the future, short or long, digitalized or not, but specifically focused on sustainability. And here again, there are many sub-issues that we should consider. And last but not least, food affordability. Of course, in a specific social perspective, that's to say instruments and practices to ensure quality food at affordable prices for all. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Federica. As I said, for sure, your point of view is very important. We, as a technologist, probably are not really too much aware of the social impacts of the new productions, of new food productions. I would like to give the word now to Beatrice Bürgi from Switzerland, and the discussion of these ideas can be made later so that we can proceed. Thank you, Beatrice.
I actually tried to write down some common thoughts about the new Bauhaus, and mainly I think it's important to increase awareness. I was wondering which are the topics I'm mainly interested or which are also very crucial for everyone. And I came up with 4 topics, starting with financial education for children and adults, going on to food waste, continuing to sustainable lifestyle, and finishing with health and mental health and prevention. Next slide, please. Actually, we all know money is essential for living. We just need it. Nevertheless, most of the people never get a financial education, either if they're young or old, unless they actually study finance. This often leads to no, or in the worst case, to bad financial management, and can also lead to personal bankruptcy. So my proposal for the future is start this important topic as early as possible, maybe already as early as in the kindergarten with some role plays. And in general, raise the awareness in population. It will help a lot of people all over the world. Next slide. Regarding food waste, I'm almost convinced that in general there's enough food around, but the expectancy is what doesn't fit, what the farmers are producing and what the grocery stores expect. We often see, especially if we are going on vacation to Bella Italia, that maybe the food does not look that good as in Switzerland. In Switzerland, it's very important that food looks good, but if you smell it, you have the great taste in Italian food, and the taste in Switzerland actually lacks. And it's not about the beauty of a food, but it's about the quality, the quality and the flavor. There should be a new thinking. Another thing is the expiry date and portion size. We often see if you go out, you get a lot of food on your plate. If you don't eat it, you just throw it away, and yeah, you don't really give respect to this food. Especially during Corona, but also if you work outside, you just get your food in a takeaway, you get it, you eat it. If it's too much, you throw it away. And if it's in a container, you also throw this container away. The same with plastic or paper bags. Often it is needed to transport your food, so you just get it to transport it and afterwards you throw it away. Why don't you take it with you just from the beginning? So my proposal would be mainly for the best before labeled foods. Just look at food, look at it, smell it, and as long as it's not running away, you can always eat it. I often see colleagues either in the office or among my friends, they say, oh, it expires tomorrow, sorry. We cannot eat it the next day. That's just rubbish. In general, just get as much as you need and probably take more if needed, or just make BYOBC, bring your own bag and container, to be more sustainable. Next slide, please. The same about sustainable lifestyle. It's very easy to get new clothes, mainly at a very low cost, which means that it's not really precious. So if once this the new jeans or whatever is out of fashion, you don't think it's really worth keeping it because it wasn't expensive, so you just throw it away. The same thing with kids fashion. There it's probably a bit different because kids are growing quite fast. The fashion is then too small and everyone needs to get new clothes for the kids. Why? There's absolutely no need. You can also reuse clothes from your other friends' kids, and not everyone needs new clothes. Again, here, get less, but probably get better quality and long-lasting fashion. Maybe it's not always the latest fashion you're wearing, but it's sustainable. And why should you get new jeans with holes if you can still wear old jeans with holes? And the next topic, health and mental health prevention. Again, here it's important to raise awareness for this very important point. It's actually quite easy to implement or take physical activity in your daily routine. Just go and for small walks and instead of taking the bus, the car. Why not integrating your bike for a daily commute? And I tell you, gardening, it's a miracle. It gives you a good feeling. At the end of the day, you might even have a fresh salad, and you can prevent going to a shrink, which is also, again, kind of sustainable. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bea, for your point of view. I will give the word to Raffaele Giaffreda, regarding the digitalization strategy. What's the contribution and the role of digitalization to our project?
Okay. My screen. Okay, so hope you're seeing my screen all right, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so I think what I introduce here will be the perspective of a technologist that has been working for a number of years now with people that are engaged in primary food production. So we've seen the challenge every day under our eyes. Food production needs to increase, and because of climate change, there is reducing soil resources. So we'll have more and more people until 2030, 2050, and climate change is affecting our ability to produce food. So the Green Revolution managed to reach the goal of producing more food on less soil However, that came at a cost that we are starting to pay with our generation, with the next for sure, because it was achieved with the use of agrochemicals, which has had an impact on basically many of the ecosystems that we are used to appreciating. And it is progressively reducing diversity in our diet, in our food production, and because yes, there are only a few high-yielding varieties that are leading the way towards, let's say, getting hunger out of the planet. So there is this kind of need to reverse this trend. Certainly we need to go in the same direction, but we need to do it in a different way from what has been the case so far. We have to exploit for that our capacity as a human, as humans, to innovate and step up to the challenges that we are faced, which are of a global nature, where we cannot face it individually. And here I'm talking about individual regions, individual countries, but we must bring together as many actors as possible. And this is a road to more sustainable practices in agriculture and primary food production that it's costly. The bioeconomy is certainly something that puts an additional strain on a sector, which is the agricultural production, one that is already strained by living on low margins and, well, as we see later, just being engaged or engaging very much for the main actors. So more support and incentives are certainly needed to promote a more healthy production of food. So the new European Bauhaus, to be entirely honest, I didn't know what that that was, so I just came and to this, just went to try and understand a little bit better what was done in the past on this. So as I was saying here, the directions or my thoughts about this are really related to the importance that the food production has outside its main purpose. So in many cases, agriculture plays a vital role in looking after the land. So if a land is cultivated, then it is more resilient to the damages that extreme meteorological events can bring. It also works as an attraction for the tourism industry. Imagine going in a place where there's no cultivation whatsoever around you, compared to a place where you see, well, here I'm making an advert for our region, but you see apple trees and a file of vineyards deployed around the hills. It makes a good impact on your eye. So certainly it's positive for the planet to look at, you know, just what value the agriculture brings, not only to the fact that, well, we are indeed in need of food, but also the side issues that are addressed with having the land properly cultivated. So that's where cross-fertilization then becomes very important. So we want to have a more healthy food, we want to have biological and organic products, and we are demanding a lot to the main actors. The farmers, the growers cannot innovate by themselves. As I said, no spare time during growing season, working constantly with them, and it's very, very difficult to get their attention. And they have, therefore, a willingness to experiment and innovate, but no time and no margins from a business perspective. So something should be done, this something is aimed towards bringing the side actors that we saw also in the previous slide together, and making sure that further value, further importance is given to the role of these actors in the main production areas. Cross-fertilization, therefore, is needed to give the sector and all its actors the importance it deserves. In terms of creative aspects, here the creativeness is less into the, let's say, traditional perspective of arts, as some other experts will bring. Here, being creative means, to me, breaking the long-standing traditions of the agricultural practices that we see by willing to experiment something new, experiment something that was not there before, experimenting to let's say, sustain a business with the views that are coming from other people, from other actors that are not necessarily involved in the day-to-day running of the agricultural business. And this is really bridging the needs of economy and the needs, the competencies coming from technology evolution that is providing new means to support new practices in agriculture. So this comes to my last slide, which is about 3 experiences and ideas. So having this heart in my head, which is across, let's say, the agriculture and the technology, certainly we see new ways of collecting data, which can steer the agricultural and food production business towards being more data-centric, and therefore ensuring that the goals that I was mentioning before are met within a short time. Farmers must be rewarded for doing the right thing. So this is where other inputs are needed, especially from the economic sector. So I've been passionate by reading about how we need to change our economy, which has been driven by economy of growth, towards becoming a thriving economy that is more attentive to the needs of the regions and the local communities that are established and rooted within given areas in our planet. So these are the 3 main aspects that I think should be included in all discussions. And I'm particularly willing to hear people's opinion on the last one, because even though I don't have an expertise in it, I think it's the only way where we can just set directions that are useful for the planet at large.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raffaele, for your contribution, very interesting contribution from the technological point of view. Okay, now I would like to give the word to Daniel from Extremadura for his ideas. We should hurry a bit, so don't be scared to be synthetic. Okay.
Yes, don't worry. Wait a moment. Okay. Well, thank you for inviting me to this conference. Well, I'm going to speak with my speech. Nowadays, a topic like bioeconomy, food and health. Wait a moment. Okay. Has a lot to do with organic farming, quality certification, and the revalorization product in the olive sector, because I work in oliviculture. Well, so the aim of this initiative, according to the new European Biohouse, is to release sustainable quality products, like the one you can see in the label. For example, produce organic extra virgin olive oil is relatively easy, because the process only use physical elements to obtain a natural product, 100%. However, in table olive sector, we need to use some preservative or additive like sodium hydroxide or others to remove the olive bitterness and to extend the shelf life of the product. No? Well, so in my research field, I believe that there are 3 important points to reach the new European Biohouse model. Well, the first one, we must raise awareness in obtaining high quality product from the entire chain of the productive sector. The second one, we have transfer sustainable attitudes or transfer the knowledge from the science to the market and from the market to the consumer, generating green culture. And finally, we have to export the product at international level, not only in local and small scale markets. Well, from my point of view, all the performers, all the actors have to be connected all together, not only in one direction, but interconnected one to each other. For example, researchers have to be linked with consumer and farmer, but also with industry and market to have a general perspective of the product. Well, our mission is focuses mainly in 3 aspects. The first one is to assure that the olive sector arrives to the consumer at its best functional and organoleptic condition. Well, the second one is we have to improve the productive process in order to obtain quality product, generating, well, new proposal, like, for example, the figure you can see in the slide, some alternative to pasteurization process, because we have an equipment in our facilities, a high hydrostatic pressure that could be an alternative to the pasteurization, or creating healthier additives and so forth. Well, and lastly, scientist divulgation is needed to support all the chain performing, and therefore consumers should control the kind of food they are buying in the supermarket. That's the reason why I wrote this book, Look the Label. It's called Look the Label, it's a Spanish book. So because I noticed that people do not recognize the different food in the supermarket. For example, they are not able to discriminate virgin olive oil to olive oil, for example. Well, and finally, regarding the free experience, in olive industry, a series of byproducts, as you told before, are generated, such as olive leaf or non-commercial olive remains that have a lot of functional values, and they can introduced in the bioeconomy, and we can recirculate them to improve the bioeconomy and the process to obtain new innovative product. For example, we can get a new product like patty, olive jam, different type of snacks, deshydrated olive, free dried olive, and so forth. Well, the second one, as the Professor Mike saw before, we have to improve the food safety of the food to the consumer. For example, after sterilization process, or when consumer at home apply thermal treatment such as frying or baking process in certain food such as toast, bread, cakes, cookies, or even coffee, a toxic substance is produced. It's called acrylamide. And even in table olive, in Californian style oxidized table olive, we can obtain this product because the processing. So we are fight to obtain different strategies to controlling this. Well, it could be a good topic for a future European project. Well, and the third one, want to achieve the 2 previous points, it's important to foment green culture, taking science to the public, trying to put the scientific language at consumer level. That's the reason why I create a YouTube channel to try to inform the consumer. It's called Maridaje Alimentos y Ciencia, because I think it's very important. And so forth. Thank you, Emanuele.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much. Divulgation has been cited many times. Now the creative aspects are another side of this coin.
So You see?
Yes, perfect.
Yes? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Just a moment. Something is not working. Okay. The bioeconomy is directly related to the habits of consumers and requires an opening of conscience so that people are able to understand the true global impact of their consumption habits. Conscious and holistic work with health and food as a fundamental part that influences our health leads to a conscious social transformation, but this concept is not yet integrated into our society. From our organization, we work on health, with a focus on healing, doing work from prevention to strengthen the well-being of people and societies. We use art as a transforming medium, sound and frequencies, altered state of consciousness in combination with music therapy, conscious work and psycho-emotional support. We work with food from a wide spectrum, with food and its connection with gastronomy, with science applied to cooking, and with social and relational habits that are directly connected with the act of eating. For us, working with food is one of the most direct ways to reach the essence of people, and from there we develop our work through cognitive, relational, creative, psycho-emotional, and transformative concepts. The new European Bauhaus could have an impact in our field by supporting projects that, in a transversal way, place as a central value the work to support human development processes at a holistic level, including the potential of art as a health transformer. Spain is one of the least advanced countries in Europe in terms of openness to work in psycho-emotional health, healthy eating, and the development of spiritual nutrition. For this reason, we consider that it is so urgent that this project begins its focus of action here. The current situation of the pandemic has aggravated the state of personal and community health in a very large percentage of society. Anxiety, depression, or eating disorders are just some of the many problems that are generating new profiles that need help and support to strengthen their health. From our concept, it's necessary to put the human at the center of our priorities, because only an individual change will lead to a global change. People who live a conscious life in harmony with themselves are more likely to stay healthy, live happier, and develop their potential. This has a positive impact on their communities, and we have identified that is absolutely essential and necessary. In our organization, the crossing of sectors and possibilities is part of our identity. In our expertise, we have experience in the field of art, food, research, science, and the health sector, both from the hospital side and the access in the practice of therapies from human development. We expose these crosses as an example of method plus achievement, but each of them can interbreed with the others. And in this way, we can build infinite possibilities of cross-fertilization at the service of each project and the needs of the people. Creativity is the most powerful tool to open the consciousness and reach the essence of people for the development of society. In neuroscience, the place from which we work, many of our concepts of healing art, research coexist on the cortex, which is the part of the brain where many of the creative concepts come from, as well as sensations and abilities, especially visual and sound, such as music and the art. Our work brings together art-driven and science-based creativity to support healing. Our contribution to the development values of the new European Bauhaus is our concept of working in a transversal way with art, sound, food, healing, research, conscious work, open consciousness, human development and citizen participation. Our most inclusive example are our IMAS-E-Labs, Laboratorios de Inteligencias Invisibles, a new form of participatory experience that consists of building research spaces where individual processes can be experienced in community. In order to give value to experiences, processes, and empower people through reflection and conscious work. These development practices are aimed at building a base place where we can be on a more human level, to be better able to increase personal well-being and generate health. To do this, we investigate languages that are experienced with art, food, sound, science, meditation, and healing to facilitate holistic experiences through new forms of experience. Our purpose is doing prevention work for the strengthening of society through participatory social research that return prototypes to provide solutions to the common good. Encouraging collaborators to create prototypes that support and solve their own problems and that of citizens, and that those prototypes are made through your own participation. A more committed participation, giving greater value to their own experiences to empower people and support a more inclusive, more sustainable and more beautiful society. Thank you.
We can hear you, Emmanuel.
Sorry, like a beginner. Yes, I wanted to say that Maria Mora will talk about sensory aspects of products and related to gastronomy, and we are looking forward. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you. Well, I'm trying to be short, to be on time. And well, I take some notes about the different speech that you did. So, well, I try to integrate the different ideas that you said, because I think that sensory analysis have a very open point of view. So, to the question, what do you understand by your theme? I translate the question into what sensory analysis can do to build a more sustainable, inclusive, and beautiful Europe. In that question, I would like to start explaining what is the food choice model. The food choice model is the graph that you can see here in my slide, which is a model who explains which aspects could lead or could do or could impact on consumer. Sorry, because I have some problem with the presentation. I don't know if, are you watching the presentation correctly? Okay, perfect, sorry. So, well, as I said, there are different aspects that could impact in the food choices. For example, there are, of course, aspects related to food properties that could impact in personal decisions, and also human perception mechanisms, for example, how we perceive taste and odors, for example. But also there are ethical reasons related with origin and environmental aspects of products that could impact in consumer choices. Also, there are cultural aspects, as Federica says, there are social aspects very related to food that we can't forget. So there is also aspects that we have to consider. For example, cultural aspect as urban lifestyle, where citizens buy groceries, eat foods, and also share daily meals in social media, for example. So all those aspects have an impact on consumer choices related to food. In that sense, I think that from sensory analysis, studying different aspects related to food choice could provide clues to use food as a tool to bring awareness to citizens about challenges of the food system and to develop more sustainable products. And not also food products. I think also about crops, as Rafael says in his presentation. It's very important to think in the whole process of develop a new product, not just the product itself. There are also another aspects included. About how can the new European Bauhaus have an impact on our field, I would like to say that when we think in the new European Bauhaus, we are thinking about design future ways of living and to imagine how our future will be. So I think this is very important to consider, because when we think in the future, if we define future rules of urban lifestyle in Europe, this future lifestyle could impact itself in the new products or concept development. So it could impact in foods, in new spaces for eating, in new spaces for shopping, groceries, in producing foods, in urban design also to have new crops, and also in terms of agriculture. So I think that new Bauhaus could impact in those all aspects that are including foods and all the chain value that implies food. So in that sense, when we talk about cross-fertilization, I will reflect about that, thinking or showing our vision about the BCC vision of gastronomy, of my center vision. And gastronomy for us is the reasoned knowledge of what we eat and how we eat. It's an area of interdisciplinarity knowledge that studies and generates physicochemical, cultural, urban, and socioeconomic processes where humans cultivate, process, distribute, and consume foods and beverages that affect their well-being. Reading this definition, I think that all of the profiles that are invited today to our speech are included in this definition. That's why I think that hybridizations are possible here when we talk about that. There are researchers from food industry, but not just to produce how to produce food. There are also experts in digitalization, farmers, business models that has to be included, as also Federica says in his presentation. And about the specific role that you give to the creative aspects in my field, in the new European Bauhaus, I would like to say that center innovation approach or a consumer-centered approach is necessary to innovate. And in this sense, when we talk about new products, we talk about innovations, and innovations are defined as goods, services, or ideas that are perceived by someone as new. So in that sense, the first question that we need to answer is how the innovation will offer more value to the consumer. So in sensory analysis, we need these creative processes with a user-centered design to decipher what is understood as value and what drives consumer food choice. In the same manner, I think that the new European Bauhaus need also this creative process or co-creation process to define which is the role of the whole society and how it will be an inclusive, sustainable, and beautiful Europe. So I think that it's important to take or pay special attention to this creative aspect of the citizens and the society. And finally, when I think about the three experiences or ideas from my field, I try to be holistic in terms not to be very focused on sensory analysis and be very open to consider other aspects, reflecting about what gastronomy is. So my ideas was the following. The first idea was to develop new products using byproducts as ingredients and identify potential claims related to sustainability, production, and health that connect with consumers. The second idea that was very close to the ideas of Federica is to co-design spaces through qualitative methods to share foods with different population groups to create more resilient communities. I think that communities has to be involved, not just in terms of agents of the food chain value. Society has to be included as the main receptors of the chain in general. So the third idea and the final idea is to identify communication strategies to raise awareness about sustainable and food sustainable communities. So I think that's all.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Maria. I think the only presentation missing is mine. I will be very short because we are practically out of time. Only a few highlights or keywords. Let's see if I can share my screen. Can you see the presentation, the PowerPoint?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Okay. Well, actually, from my personal background and the work I'm doing now, I would like to extrapolate to mention a few things. For instance, I think that food products and food production, gastronomy could be one of the points which can allow us to realize an inclusiveness, provided that different food culture may facilitate the dialogue. And here you can see some. We have in Italy problems of different social groups which are with different food cultures. One of the possibility of integrations can be organizing, for instance, festivals of street food, or to let ethnic foods to be recognized also to other cultures, to other social groups. And then, of course, the European New European Bauhaus could be a project which can tackle the health issues of, for instance, long-term pathologies, metabolic pathologies, as you can see from the second figure. So we could promote not only inclusion, but a better cultural interchange in order to reduce pathologies. This would also enhance the human development. Then the creative aspects and cross-fertilization strategies. So one point raised by Raffaele could be very interesting. So to adapt digitalization, to apply digitalization to a better production, primary production, so agricultural production. On the other side, cross-fertilization could be, for instance, from creative people. And here I am just mentioning the label, artistic label of a wine of a former student of mine. And I think if one finds such a label in a bottle of wine in a supermarket, he would be very prone to buy it instead of a very anonymous product. And on the other side, working places, as Federica said, the quality of working places is very important. You know, in the from the Basque countries, I took this picture when I went a few years ago. This is a winery in which a design winery. In this, I think it would be very interesting to work. The end ideas and examples of our personal work are two. For instance, during the Corona crisis, we were obliged to develop software and application, a web application, to perform sensory analysis at a distance, because students were not able to attend the lectures. The classrooms were closed. Another point is give information, chemical information, in a sort of artistic way to increase the attractiveness of food, of wine in this case. So we could find the role of aroma compounds for the sensory characterization of wine. So could be also a way of creativity inside the technological sector and the food analytical sector. So, organizers, Roberto, Boris, Begonia, what are your comments?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
If I can
I'm going. Thank you very much to everybody. It was extremely interesting. It is not the topic on which I have the most knowledge, but it was absolutely interesting because it is a key topic for the transformation of our economy and society, because everybody is eating several times a day, and not everybody is taking, for example, public transport. So it is really any change that we can make in this kind of field. It is really important. And globally, I think that of course, it was a very rich conversation. I'm going to take some insights out from the notes that I've been taking. But at the same time, I can tell that we are, our conversation is pretty much defined by the breakdown that we have in our policies and in our received ideas. For example, this distribution that we have between supply and demand. So I was wondering, why can't we collaborate more between consumers on one side and producers on the other side? And I think that there is a fair overestimation of the role and the impact of consumers, because of course, when we buy, we can act politically and we can change the world. But if we want to act fast, I think that the application of technology and digitalization in the world of producers, it is really the fast track to bring this kind of acceleration. And on the other side, it was, of course, any intervention was interesting, but I think that some points that were made by Raffaele was really key in the sense that we have this weight of tradition, that sometimes it's not really a tradition, it's just the way that we are doing things for some years, and then we decide that it is a tradition. And the other thing is that as far as I understand, the producing sector is fairly traditional in the sense that they need an extra help to shift to technology and digitalization. So this is a very first 2-3 ideas that I got from everything. And of course, I really appreciate the presentation of Marianke and Federica also, because it was really overarching, and it was quite surprising, the idea of Beatrice, which I think it is to explore. To be financially independent can help to buy food in a different way. And I didn't think about it in that way, because when we think about affordable food, we think about lower prices. So thank you very much for these interactions.
Great. Any comments from anyone?
Congratulations on your contributions, really. Only a question and a reflection. When we think about, we talk about creativity in relation with other fields, we are not only talking about aesthetic aspects in the usual idea about visual aspects or mainly visual aspects. Not only about architecture, of course, we are speaking as well about architecture, about brands, about marketing, about communication, about promotion. Okay, but we think that creativity is very, very important, not only in this kind of matters. it's very important to build new meanings, to generate experiences, to transform of course, awareness about food, because really perhaps food is the best way to get a personal, community, and planet health. Perhaps is I don't know if it's the most important science now, but it's one of the most important, I'm sure. In the last months, from Conexiones Improbables, we have worked with the Basque government in a cross-fertilization project between sustainable food and cultural and creative industries, and looking for common points, for common challenges, and we have selected with people from different food and creative organizations, Basque Culinary Center as well. Three areas: how to work new business models together, because both sectors are looking for new business models in this framework of sustainability. What social science are impacting in their own business, again in a new framework where sustainability is urgent, and how to generate new experiences, how to generate experiences not only in food system, as well in industrial in cultural and creative sectors. And we have found a lot of operational aspects in common. Of course, in marketing, in design, in eco-design of bio-design, in very different aspects. I think that the questions that you are put on the table are all very, very important, because about safety, about, for example, about what is the role of food in mental and spiritual well-being. Because I think that we need to look in the framework of the European Bauhaus. We need to look not only about welfare state. We need a well-being state. That is a little different. Okay, what do you think about the main question? What would Gropius do a century later today about food and health system?
Is it a question to me or to the participants? I would like to give the word to the participants.
What is the main focus that you think if we want to build a new European Bauhaus, a new idea about sustainability, inclusive and beautiful Europe? What is about your area, around your area? Sorry, what is the main focus?
A question to me or to the participants? I would like to give the word to the participants.
What is the main focus that you think if we want to build a new European Bauhaus, a new idea about sustainability, inclusive and beautiful Europe? What is about your idea, around your idea? Sorry, what is the main focus Europe needs?
Yes. Okay, Federica.
Just a last word from my side, but I think that Walter Gropius has been selected exactly because he was sort of people who, with a vision, let's say, with a vision about how can we evolve in a society and how the different aspects should be integrated for the development. So I think that let's say the dialogue of today was very clear in evidencing that we have different competencies, but we need really to work together in order to find out how we can really make an improvement, make an advancement in knowledge, not just in the single discipline. I think that the idea here is really the integration, and even if it's an old story, the one about interdisciplinarity and interdisciplinary project, I think that as researcher we experience that it's always very difficult to integrate discipline approaches, point of view, but I think this is the future, at least from my point of view.
I think on my side, if I will restate a little bit some work that is actually happening. As I was mentioning in my last slide, I follow this author. It's just she brings forward the idea of the donut economics, and in there the key aspects are related to development that is aware of its surroundings rather than aimed and inspired by growth requirements. So in other words, what we should consistently see is projects and actions that do not take place if they exceed the amount of resources that the earth can provide to sustain them. So this is a whole new paradigm in thinking about the earth as a finite resource planet rather than infinite resource planet as it was in the past, because just that has been the case so far. People would come up with nice ideas and that help address people's problems and make our lifestyle better, but without worrying too much about resources, because just by measure of what we've done as a human generation until now, let's say the fact that the planet Earth has got finite resources could be neglected. This is not the case anymore. We've seen it. We've seen it because we can foresee ahead much more and predict much more than we used to in the past. And so now we have the ability to this foresight ability that comes from all the data that we've collected and all the things that are being said by scientists and by experts in each of their domains. And we have a responsibility to take that into consideration. So, and that's where then we must target not growth anymore, but thriving economies, which can support themselves based on what the earth can generate within a community, within regions, within nations, and so on. So it's a little bit a reversing trend from the globalization that we've seen happening until now. And you know, just a little bit what is already happening in the food domain in its let's say restricted context. You know, just there was this huge explosion of supermarkets, and now everybody is stepping back to wanting to resource food locally, resourcing food that is coming at the right time in the year, following the seasons, rather than getting everything at any cost, anytime. For yeah, that's a bit my thoughts about what could be done by the group use of the modern food systems.
Great.
Well, I completely agree with Rafael and Federica about the things that they said. I think that a new urban lifestyle have to be designed in terms of interdisciplinarity about with different experts, and also considering the resources of the city without compromising the world resources. So I think that group use will tend to create new cities, or to develop cities into more sustainable cities that create their own resources through using resources from other cities. So I think that the challenge is to integrate everything in a own city, promoting local businesses and farming, and also to create a business to consumer model more close, no, as Federica says, from farm to fork, no, trying to connect those issues. So I think that's what group use will do.
Emanuele, can I ask you one thing? Thank you. I was very interested by all the presentations, and so I found particularly this this differentiation that Raffaele made between economy of growth and economy of thriving, particularly interesting, and also in connection with something that Federica said about the social agriculture. There was something that, and these two things were stuck in my mind, thinking that, are there examples in history or geography where this concept has been already traditionally applied? And if, for example, this, if tradition so far, as Raffaele was saying, actually in reality at the beginning was in some way like this. So people were confronted with the reality of the place in which they lived, and at some point something went differently. So can we find in history, or can we find in geography, so in other places outside Europe, for example, such type of examples of social agriculture and a different type of economical growth?
Can I answer?
Yeah.
Sure. Your intervention took my mind to a very special aspect. We think of the generation of our grandparents who lived the two wars. Okay, they didn't waste resources. At least my grandparents were always looking at finding a new use for all the resources. They were maybe giving the old clothes to other relatives, or and the history of food in Italy, for instance, is always the history of getting the maximum taste and efficiency. Okay, taste from the 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 raw products. Then there was an intermediate generation in which all this vision has seemed to disappear because of consumerism, probably. Now we, as also Walter Gropius was, we are at the beginning, we are at the crossing We started the new century, 20 years ago, and we are at a crossing. Should we continue with our lifestyle, always wasting resources, or we should go back to a new era, which should keep in mind also the ideas of probably of the past generation? Ours should be probably exactly, because anyway, we need to produce more food because the population, world population is increasing. But we have to, as Raffaele said, reduce the soil amount to produce this food. Okay, so digitalization can be the key of going towards this direction, reduce food losses, and to also increase the distribution, the logistics of food, because if there are food losses, it means that the distribution of food resources is completely not understandable or irrational. And then, yes, scientific divulgation, probably he could point to scientific divulgation for the general audience, because in this century, the instruction, the education is better than 100 years ago. So this could be also a key point. And divulgation for a general public to increase a conscious eating and also decrease the illnesses due to mental or physical problems of different social groups. I don't know if I answered the question, but for sure in the past there was this idea of saving resources. We should get it back, I think.
Indeed, that was the first thing that came to my mind as well. But I was also thinking to, I don't know, experiences in, I don't know, agricultural communities. I don't know, I've never been there, but I think in Israel, for example, I'm sure that places where a community share certain places and works, not only for agriculture, but also for other things, do exist even nowadays. But what was very interesting to me was thinking about tradition in particular and innovation, because always when I thought to, I'm not, I never studied agriculture in particular, but it came to my mind how people over the millennia, the thousands, the centuries, the 1,000 years, the centuries, actually adapt and develop new technologies to survive. And they did it without any specific training or knowledge, or yes, it was traditional knowledge and very practical knowledge. So I think that that type of idea of innovation was, in a sense, already there. And so probably, I don't know if a way, as you, Emanuele, was saying, of digitalizing and extending knowledge, scientific knowledge, beside giving back this dimension of type of old rural type of way, it could be a possible type of, so mixing the two things, kind of increasing awareness, increasing knowledge, but also giving back the dimension to all type of social, I don't know. I think that this is very appealing as a type of possibility.
Yeah, maybe I can jump in very quickly, because I think that it is a big question that can be broke down in several other topics. Of course, there are examples. I think in Poland during the communism years, there was, of course, a subsistence economy, and there was in cities they were growing food because of the scarcity of food that they had in some periods. And of course, I'm not the most expert about this, but now all the experiments of urban growing, they are actually really small, and they are not able to produce, of course, big quantities. So it is really a facade in a way. And it comes back to what Maria was saying, how can we make things desirable. At what point some kind of food becomes a status symbol to define our social status. And the idea of community goes also back to the how we do intend individualism, because if we can shift towards the idea of Michel Foucault, of the how we take care of ourselves in a different way, it can still be individualism, but considering a social dimension, a community dimension. So I think that there are several point of views that can be taken in consideration. So all this, the self-care becomes the awareness of the care for the community. And I think that, of course, creativity and what Marianke was saying was key in this sense. But I'm going to keep the conversation going. Thank you.
Okay, well, I will give a reaction now. On the question, what would Gropius do a century later? I think he would ask to each of us, what would you do? How do you want to live with yourself, with others, with nature? How do you want to take care of yourself? How you are going to take care of yourself and your loved ones and the planet? From which place are we working? Are we taking decisions? And it's all about taking responsibility, and it's taking a responsibility together, because we are all part of this change. And well, I found it very interesting, all the different points of view, and well, just this I wanted to say, and thank you.
Okay.
Emmanuel, if you want
Yes.
to close the...
Yes.
Excuse me, Begoña.
Yes, I just wanted to say that first of all, I would like to say thank you. It has been, for me at least, it has been grateful to hear all of you. Until today, I did know anything about this world, and now I know something. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here. As Boris said before, I have been also taking some notes and getting key ideas about all the conversation. And I don't want to say a lot now because I don't think it's my moment. But anyway, regarding or going back to a thing that Maria said about the definition, or about the definitions she gave about gastronomy, and how according to that definition, all of us here could generate hybridization actions. That's the idea of these conversations, to understand how hybridization and cross-sectoral crossover are the starting point for real innovation. Of course, we at Conexiones Improbables work from the crossroads of arts, culture, and creativity with other sectors, but ultimately what we wanted with these dialogues was to talk about these crossroads and what each from their own field, but in the correction with others, can contribute to a more inclusive, sustainable, and beautiful Europe. So thank you for this conversation. And before closing the conversation, Emmanuel will do that, but I would like to remember you that tomorrow we are holding a second parallel dialogue. I don't know if you can see my screen. Yes.
Yes.
So we are holding the second parallel dialogue, and we will talk about the smart industry and services. As you can see, we are holding a conversation every day of the week until the 15th of June. And for sure, you are all invited to attend these conversations. You have all the links to the streamings on our website and on our social media. We are using the hashtags Gropius 2021 and the New European Bauhaus, so you can tag us in everything you want to. And by the way, remember you that we will have a final conversation on the 22nd of June. Even the active participant of this group will be Emmanuel. You are all invited, so we hope we will see you then. And also again, thank you, and especially thanks to Emmanuel, because he has worked against the clock to bring you all together here, and he has finally come up with a spectacular panel of speakers. So thank you, Emmanuel, and thank you all, and see you soon.
Thank you, Begonia. You don't have to thank me, because it was a very easy work, because all these colleagues are not only experts, but very good professionals and good friends. And so it was very easy to contact them and to ask for their help. So we have seen, several points of view, but we are very, very close by. There were not struggles or big discussions. So the 3 points, bioeconomy, food and health, we have seen that each of us has developed them. I think the next point, the next steps would be to prepare a document for the next meeting of the 27th of June. If you don't mind, is it correct, Boris? 22nd of June.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah,
22nd of June.
Yes.
So the idea would be, if I have understood well, that we take all the contributions that you did, and maybe some of you who didn't send the presentations, please do it if you like. We can write. I will summarize a kind of manifesto, right, on this all these contributions of today, so that we are going to the next meeting with our idea, that could be useful for Ursula for her policy towards a new Europe. Because I also invite you to share this information of this streaming of today with your social and to your colleagues or institutions which could be interested. I think in the next days I will write let's say a resume of the meeting of today, like a minutes of the meeting of today, also taking the video recording that was done, right? So can I now thank you all really from the bottom of my heart for your participation. I know that some of you were already involved in other commitments this morning, but they took their time to stay with us, to join us. And I hope I can go back to you with new, good news, okay, in the next future.
Thank you.
Thank you, Conexiones Improbables, for your help, for coordinating all this activity.
Thank you, Mieczysław and Raffaele and Daniel and Marianka and Federica and Eduardo, Maria, and all those that had to leave already.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. See you soon.